Good morning, everybody. I'm Don Swanker. I'm going to go ahead and call the Jackson County Board of Supervisors meeting to order on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. To my left, I got Mike Steinis. To my right, I got Nen Flegel, Bjorn from IT, and Lisa from the auditor's office. First up, we have Luann, our executive assistant.
Good morning.
Morning.
Calendar this week, 11 o'clock this morning, right after the meeting, we'll have a work session on the shop foreman position. And at 11:30, we can have a budget work session if we need that. Tomorrow, Wednesday, March 5th at 9 a.m. is an IRIS special meeting in Dubuque or by Zoom for NIN. And at 4:30 is Wednesday's our possible meeting at Innovate 120 for any of you. Thursday, March 6th, there is where they move the RTA meeting to 9 a.m. in Dubuque or by Zoom for all of you. And at 11 a.m. is a tag meeting in Dubuque or by Zoom for Don. On Friday, March 7th, I will not be in the office that day. On Sunday, March 9th at 2 a.m. is when we spring forward on the clocks. Monday, March 10th at 7:30, I tend to have an early childhood Iowa executive board meeting by Zoom for NIN. And our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, March 11th at 9 a.m. And that afternoon at 3:30 is a Maquoketa River Watershed Management Authority Executive Committee meeting by Zoom for Don.
Okay, Nen had.
I have an issue. I need to be gone by 10 o'clock next week due to a follow-up appointment.
Sure.
So we talked about possibly, if we could maybe go at 8:30. That would work maybe for everybody.
Yeah, is that something that we have to change or have an motion, or is it just that we can just change it?
We've always done that by motion, correct?
So we can do that under who's, I make a motion, we change our meeting next week on the 11 to 8:30 start time.
I'll second that.
We got a motion by Mike, second by Nen to approve moving next Tuesday's supervisor meeting to 8:30 in the morning. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I also on Thursday, and say, unless in case somebody calls in or anything, I had a executive ECIA executive director search interviews from 1 to 5 on Thursday, so I will be out of commission.
All right. In terms of business this morning, we need discussion, possible action on setting the date of the public hearing for the maximum property tax levy.
What do we have?
What's proposed?
She told me a date.
It was on my agenda for setting a public hearing date of March 25th, 2025 at 11:30 a.m. So we need to make sure that we adjourn the regularly scheduled board meeting by 11. And we have this maximum property tax levy meeting at 11:30.
Okay, so that'll be a separate meeting.
Yes,
So are you looking for a motion now, or are you doing this under your portion?
she's already asked for a motion, so.
So moved.
I'll second that.
We got a motion by Mike, second by Nen to approve setting a public hearing on March 25th, 2025 at 11:30 a.m. for the proposed property max tax levy hearing for fiscal year 25-26. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Right, I am also looking for a couple of appointments this morning. Historic Preservation Commission has 2 vacancies that had 2 resignations. We had 1 application come in for a 3-year term to expire in December 31st of 2027, and that was from Lori Behrens.
And make a motion to appoint Lori to the historic preservation.
I would second.
Got a motion by Nen, second by Mike to approve Lori Behrens to serve on the Historic Preservation Committee with a term ending on December 31st, 2027. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And just so people know, we still have 1 vacancy on that.
Correct. I'm also looking to fill a vacancy on the zoning commission. This was tabled last week. We need 1 appointment with a term expiration of 4/16 of 2028.
With that, I would like we have Austin in the back. If you'd like to kind of stand up and introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you. Come up a little closer because the microphone's up here so people can hear you.
Good morning, Austin Till. Appreciate the opportunity to give a brief introduction of myself. Also want to thank you for tabling your decision last week. I submitted the application to Luann before the deadline and had to travel for work, so I wasn't able to join. So again, I appreciate this opportunity. Little background about myself. Born and raised in Jackson County. Currently reside in Bellevue, rural Bellevue with my wife and 2 children. I'm employed at John Deere, where I'm a sales and marketing manager. I'm also the founder and president of AMP Graphics here in Macokota. And why am I interested in this position? So there's a couple of reasons. First and foremost is the fact that I have the opportunity to give back to the community. I've always been interested in commissions and boards. And this is a good time for my personal and family's time and the work-life balance right now that'll work. So I reached out to Luann about a year ago and she provided this information. I thought this would be a good one to get put the application in on. There's an opportunity for personal development and experiences as well too. So when I network with folks and just to learn more and be better as a person and get some more experiences. Last week you asked if there's a personal agenda from some of those folks, and I can honestly tell you I do not have a personal agenda with this. This is simply an opportunity for me, those reasons I just gave you and why it's interesting to me. And I want to do best by the community and the citizens of Jackson County to help participate and communicate and do all I can for them. I appreciate the opportunity. Are there any questions I can answer?
So Austin, you stated that you travel for John Deere or for your position with John Deere. Do you see that as a conflict as far as meetings or I think Lori, are you on? What are the regular scheduled meetings for conservation?
No.
Zoning.
For zoning.
Zoning, I'm sorry.
Zoning commissions meetings are well, for right now, we're every 3rd Monday.
Like at 6 o'clock.
Third Monday of the month. It's 6 o'clock currently. However, in April, we switched back to 7.
Seasonal changes.
So you just bring it in. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
So to answer your question, I do travel. It's not maybe 2 weeks a month. I have some flexibility, but I'd like to take us back to our COVID era when we were able to successfully communicate and live our lives and be effective with technology. So potentially that's an option, but I also have a little bit of flexibility in my travel where I can coordinate and say I might have to be gone this day or be back, so I can try to work that in. But definitely a legitimate concern, but I think I can work around it.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for Austin?
No, that was my main question too, was the travel.
Good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Austin.
Wishes of the board. Like I say, because this is the first time I think we've, in our experience, where we had one position open and we had 3 very, very qualified people. And it's a wonderful problem to have, but it's also a problem. So what are we thinking?
This is tough.
It is tough.
I commend anyone that would volunteer. Like I said, the pay's not real good, but anyone that would volunteer to apply for the position, and we appreciate it very much. So
We will have 2 other terms expiring by April 16th as well. At least one of those has reapplied, right, Lori? I'm not sure if both of them have.
I think they both have intentions on reapplying.
I want to say the only concern I have with Austin is one of your references. I don't know about that.
Should have thought of that.
had nothing to do with it. Yeah,
Wishes of the board.
I don't know, I have concerns with both of them.
Yeah.
I guess I would like to make a motion for Brian.
I would untable the motion
Oh,
first.
sorry. I would like to untable our motion from last week.
Okay.
on table discussion.
Yeah.
Have a second.
We got a motion by Nin to untable the discussion to appoint a zoning commission board member. And we got a second by Mike. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is untabled. Now we can discuss, make a motion.
I would like to make a motion to recommend Brian Venema to the zoning board.
I would second.
We got a motion by Nan, second by Mike to appoint Brian Venema to the zoning commission. Any other discussion?
And it's for no reason other than we have multiple applicants. I weighed the options of, considered everything and I have no qualms about anyone that have applied. And I appreciate very much.
Can we hold on to these two other applicants till the next round in case they don't reapply?
Just too good for a year.
Okay.
They're good for a year. They don't have to reapply.
I would say the only leg up I would give Brian is the fact that over the last 6 months, he seems like he's been zooming in or attending about every meeting for ours, not just zoning, but for ours. And so that gives him, I don't know if you've been watching or following along, whatever, but there are quite a few things going, and that would be about the only leg. I mean, this is a phenomenal problem to have,
Yeah.
this many qualified people, and I hope this doesn't discourage. So any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming in, Austin. We appreciate it. We hope to work with you in the future in some capacity, along with Lori. We hope.
Certainly appreciate the opportunity.
You bet.
So, just so you know, we will consider for all other board that we have. Name stays on file.
Yeah.
Any and all open committee.
When it stays on file, it stays on file.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
You bet. Anything else,
I
Luann?
think that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we got visitors and citizens. Don't really see anybody here. Do we have anybody online? Brian, do you want to say anything? This is definitely no. I'll take that as a no. So we'll move on.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Yep, no problem. Have a good day, sir. Next up is Nathan
too.
Jones, Conservation Director, Department update. Welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Morning.
I think main thing I'd give you guys an update on from our last conversation, we had a board meeting here in February, and the UTV, ATVs in our parks was brought up. The board made a motion to proceed to allow them for a 1-year trial period, as long as I can get the Corps to write it or permit it. So we're in that process of getting the Corps permission right now. So it looks like that's probably going to happen. That we can allow them to go through our parks. And the only thing they put in there is they just want to see if there's going to be any issues arise that we have to take into consideration in the future. But most likely we hopefully won't have any problems with our park users and anything that we have to. They decided not to change the ordinance we have. We're going to use a different ordinance and have a sign rule. So it's allowed. We just have to post it by sign to cover it. So we don't have to go to a public meeting for ordinance to open it up is what our goal was there. So that kind of, I think, hopefully answers some of you guys' questions. As long as the Corps goes ahead, I'm waiting on an answer there, but usually it is, they're going to tell me.
So, this one I'm understanding correctly. I mean, I had called you with a couple questions. So, legislation passed last year that they could use state parks. Now, and I don't know, I think that overrides our ordinances to the fact that we can still place some restrictions on that. But now I'm gonna isolate on one park, which is the Spruce Creek area.
Yep,
That's not a state park.
not a state park.
That's good.
So that's DNR.
It's federally land under the county, so the state park would be the middleman. It doesn't have any state.
Okay, just tell me if they can ride in the Spruce Creek
They-
campground.
They will once we get Corps permission. here.
Okay,
So,
that includes 395th that goes down to the harbor.
yep. So
Okay,
they'll see, once we get that Corps permission, we have signs there, we'll cover them up with some kind of temporary sign until we get a sign built. So once we get Corps permission, we're good to go there.
Yeah.
So
While you're talking to the Corps about that.
I know what you're talking. I haven't got anywhere. I know our
Permits for the boat ramps.
Oh, yeah, well, that one too. Bridgeport ramp, I had some questions yesterday on, from the Corps looks like it's being positive on the Bridgeport one. The state's questioning because they're concerned about us having to have fill to put the rock in. Most of it is we're removing material, but they have to put a sub base in. So the state's sending a bunch of questions and trying to figure out what their floodplain permitting right now there. So hopefully we can move forward on that one soon, is a goal. Spruce should be moving any day to be getting that ramp put in, hopefully.
Oh, so like actual construction?
Yeah, that's been bid
Maybe
out.
done before Memorial Weekend?
It's supposed, his contract is May 15th. I don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure we put it at May 15th or 20th. That had to be done by that date. He's in conversation with him a few weeks ago. He was hoping to move in mid-March. He was hoping the ice would be thin enough that he could just break it
Well,
out.
it's obviously thin enough, so.
Yeah, I don't know about in the harbor, because I went, there are people falling through, but I went somewhere in a couple places on Friday or Saturday on the river, and there's 24 inches in some of the backwaters, so it's plenty thick in certain areas where there's
Who's our
no current.
contractor for this?
Argo Schmidt,
Okay.
Construction got it.
And is there any plans to expand the, I'm gonna call it east boat ramp on the Spruce Creek area there?
No, not at this
Directly to the river?
time. The river ramp.
Yeah.
We just figured we'd keep scooping the sand off of it and try to keep it open, and while he's
I mean, just
construction, at
during
least
the
let's allow somebody else.
Is there a penalty for Argo or the contractor or something?
Yeah, we wrote one in, but I don't remember what it was.
Okay,
Um,
if he goes.
it was written so much a day, less Mother Nature.
Right,
The flooding affected him, so I can't quote what it was. It was something the DOT
All right,
uses.
okay.
So, yeah, that one hopefully will be moving any day. The Bridgeport one, I'd love to see move in the spring, but I don't know how fast. I had to write a permit extension on that one our day too, so.
So with that one has not been bid?
It has not been bid. I'm waiting to get, for sure we have our permits in hand before we bid it. I just don't wanna bid it until I know if we have to.
Well,
make
with just the
any
amount of
changes.
usage that one gets, it'd almost be better to push it back,
Till fall.
till fall.
And that's what I suggested to the state if they will allow it. So I sent in a permit extension to the fall the other day. But with their,
Because we shut it down for a couple of months, that's kind of the
yeah,
season.
I'm hoping. I don't want it to be middle of summer. That's like, if we can get it permit any day and we can have it done in the next month and a half. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it takes 2 weeks to post and get the bids, so it's probably more likely fall. That's why I went with an extension
Cool.
request. So, yeah, those two,
And so the other thing you were talking about was probably that land to see if we could
yeah, and that
sign that over.
maybe stalled out because our board, they started with Duck Creek as a core, as part of that core same lease. And I requested that piece in front of from the boat ramp south, that Spruce, and then Duck Creek to be removed because we kept getting by things that were costing the county money to do that were silly, in my opinion. They started with Duck Creek as the thing they were willing to remove. And then they requested we pay for an environmental assessment before they would remove it on that Duck Creek site. Our board chair tabled it for 6 months or a year. I can't remember what it was because they didn't want to pay for an environmental assessment. Because once we dig into it and if we find something, might not have been us, might have been before us, but the county's on the hinge to replace or repair or fix. So they were a little worried that, do we really want to dig into this or wait? So I kind of been sitting here in limbo land right now with the Corps on that part. They didn't even want to look at the other one until we got that one removed. I'm like, well, I'd rather remove
Can we
the.
sublease the Spruce area to the owners of the property?
There had been discussion. There's somebody there's one of the leaders in the Corps doesn't want to open that because the way they have it zoned, or I don't know if zoning is the correct word. They have certain coding sections for their land. He said we'd have to change how that piece is coded or whatever, which would open up a public forum and 160-day comment period or something. I hear he's ready to retire, so I'm wondering if we'll have somebody that'll be more willing to look at it for us here soon. As of now, we're nowhere on that.
Okay.
So that's kind of where some of the projects, we're building docks as we speak in our shop. getting out and doing some field management. I expect a really dry spring the way it's going, so we're gonna try to start doing a little burning early to, while we still have a little moisture before it gets dangerous. So, we're trying to bite off some of that stuff a little earlier than normal. Writing grants for the Prairie Creek still. We submitted a AARP grant for 25,000 last week, so hopefully that will come through. Gonna plan on some other ones coming up. We're just trying to cover some extra money if we need to, or find money any way we can on those projects, so. We are gonna be short on Spruce Creek ramp, so coming up, I think our board is gonna have to probably do a budget amendment at some point and cover it with our, reserve fund for that project, and we'll probably be short at Bridgeport unless we can find another fund source. We're looking at maybe some fishing tournament or online fishing tournament as a fundraiser, and some, we're just trying to figure out ways to bring in some extra funds to cover some of this extra stuff right now. Seems like a lot of fundraising, a lot of things going on in the county, so.
Not
Which-
meaning to add to it, but in our budget, you asked for a possible building it.
Yeah,
I don't know if we need to schedule a work session or just meet with you to kind of
yeah,
what
maybe
that would look like and where, because as of right now in our budget,
it hasn't been removed yet.
that has not.
Okay, then we probably should, that'd be a good thing.
He was on for a little bit.
He was already backing up. Wow.
Well, I know things are tight, so I thought I would have it in there, but maybe we could set up something and have a,
Well, we certainly need to have discussion.
yep, how we can make it work.
Proximity
How
to
and
what,
where.
Yep.
where, yeah.
Yep, let's do that. We'll get together and I'll send out some emails and see if we can find some time.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any plans or thoughts already that you could get arranged and get coordinated with whoever and propose,
Yeah, we
maybe
can,
make a proposal.
we can work something together. So
Okay,
that's about all I have for you guys.
Thank you very much.
appreciate it,
Thank you.
Nathan.
I did see on Facebook, they got paper sales for the prairie. For the golf, up by the golf thing. Oh,
Oh, I,
They do.
okay. Think no more than I do sometimes.
Miss Lori,
Hey,
zoning administrator, you're up for a department update.
Hey,
Good
guys.
morning.
Gal? Excuse me.
guys.
That's kind of generic for me.
Generic.
Just a finish.
So, I took a little field trip. By the way, the lights in here are great.
Yeah.
They have been for quite some time, by the way.
I'm just noticing them now. Maybe my glasses are
They too
clean.
bright, you want us to
I'm not so
demo?
sure they're up all the way either. Are they up all
They're
the way? now?
good. I could take off my glasses. too.
Dimmable. You want us to dim them down?
No, this is good.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did a field trip Friday. I was only able to get one of our zoning commissioners to go with, just due to scheduling. I've set up another one to try to get, and Brian, I see you're still on. I'm trying to set up, a trip for Thursday to go out to the Union, Iowa site. I was already out there once with, Mary Keys, and we also stopped in Marshalltown, at the courthouse, because I wanted to talk to their zoning administrator. I'd had trouble connecting with him, because they also have a site, but not, I don't think it's UR Energies, though. I think it's somebody else's. No, it is UR Energies, sorry, yes, the one on Benford Avenue. Did you get to go by there?
I did not. I checked the map where I was at and we were kind of tied into things and I thought, I don't really know. Were you able to take any pictures and such? I see you.
Oh, I did,
Yeah.
yeah, I did. So we had
One
one
other
problem.
question would be, have you talked to the city of Manchester at all? I don't know if they got anything in place yet, but a month or so ago, they were gonna put like 80 of these units in their industrial park.
Okay, Cedar Falls already has. And I was hoping to take a trip to Cedar Falls. It is in
Okay.
their industrial
Okay.
park. And it's running off Cedar Falls utilities. And it's right in Cedar Falls, but of course in their industrial district. We had, the Stillmuncuses who have a site next to the operation, the proposed operation.
Right.
They took a road trip, a week and a half ago. So I don't know if it was like, it was the week of the first public
He told
hearing.
us that when he was in here.
He did. And they shared video with me. So I have video that they emailed. Actually, Deb was showing me at Walmart on one lunch break one day. Yeah. Anyway, they went out and of course it was unannounced. And you could hear
on both the Union site and the, what's the name of the other, St. Anthony site. You could hear bad bearings. I mean, it was loud, and you could hear that there was maybe some deferred maintenance or something that had just, went out and hadn't been corrected yet. So of course, when Mary and I went out to the site there in Union on Friday, they knew we were coming. There wasn't a squeaky bearing in the bunch. But we did drive out to the St. Anthony site where they didn't know we were gonna go. And it was still, it was still loud and squeaky. And I've been told that the neighbor close to the St. Anthony site did have some complaints at one time. So I'm trying to get that contact information from Marshall County. I did, now I'm going back and forth here. Now I'm going back to Hardin County and Union. I reached out to a property owner that was a half mile, probably a little over a half mile away from the site. So, every morning a freight train or tractor, constant humming in the front of his house when he goes out. They are able to enjoy the back side of their house, but they can hear it. And mind you, that is flat country, not a tree in sight between the data mining site and that house. It doesn't look like Jackson County, let's put it that
Well,
way.
we certainly have to consider how close residential property is to these sites. I
Absolutely.
mean, there's
Well,
quality of life involved in everything that we do here, but
absolutely. And this was a half mile.
yeah.
And
So how do
the
we-
resident
How do
and
we control that in Jackson County in our current situation?
that would be, if it makes it to the Board of Adjustment, that would be a Board of Adjustment setting criteria as far as distance or sound. Because
When do they meet next, and could we make a recommendation to them before they meet? If we decide we wouldn't, I sit there and I look, and when we were talking about last year, there was talk, there's nobody within a quarter mile that, it sounded great. That's why we looked at the moratorium. Now we're talking 600 feet. It's a huge difference.
a huge difference.
I'm cool at a quarter mile, but 600 feet, you can almost hear conversations if the weather's right.
Mhm. Well,
So
especially
even a
like-
quarter mile is.
Well, and that
I mean, I
terrain
can hear
there,
my
it's,
neighbors
it's a hollow, so it's gonna just keep going.
gravitate. Yeah.
It's gonna go right
It'll
towards your
funnel.
house.
So I didn't know if there's a way, if we could put send a recommendation, we make a motion to say, hey, we would like you to consider no less than this, and they could act on it. Is there a way we can do that? Is that possible, or this is their own thing, or?
Let's maybe gather a little more information if we could and see if they can get some decibels, X amount of, weather conditions, be it whatever it might be. I mean, there's gotta be some distances that's recorded in decibels somehow. My other question is, what is our major benefit here? To allow them to maybe tie into our energy source, if it will, electricity source, and we don't know a lot about it, if there will be any issues going down the road. Is there revenue to gain by this, or what is our major benefit for Jackson County on this? Not to get behind the 8 ball or something, I don't know what this.
As far as allowing, as far as those type of operations coming
Yes.
in, they would say to stabilize, electricity use in Macocata Valley, be able to buy at a lower rate because they're using more volume. And, keeping the rates down for the others, but as far as tax benefits, not really much. The way, the pods are gonna be valued is my understanding, very minimal.
So the economic impact is only to the power company per se, or
Well,
the landowner.
actually, when we were on site Friday, there was 3 employees there on site, and they say they do man it Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, 8 to 5, something like that. So the stations are manned weekdays. And,
Inside of these pods?
oh yes, not in the pod, in the workstation. There's a workshop. that's on site.
Okay, what's the decibel entitled workshop?
Actually,
It's pretty insulated or?
it was a non-issue.
Yeah, it could be well insulated.
It was a non-issue and it was on the intake side of the fans. It was a non-issue.
Yeah.
Inside of the workshop where they were fixing their computers, fixing, their little circuit boards.
No, their
Bjorn can probably explain some of this better than I can, but the insides
statement
of,
for us was
they-
they would have one full-time employee for this area.
and they had, 3 in there. And then when we went, I think it's about 15 miles down the road when we went into, Marshall County into that one, there was at least, oh gosh, was it 1 car sitting there? So they had employees there too, or an employee there too. So there is jobs to be had, which, local jobs are a good thing. Will we see that directly? No, but if you have people living in your county, they're gonna be spending money in your county. Because I know for me, when I was working in Dubuque County, I didn't spend as much money in Jackson County as I do now, now that I'm back in the county. So, just having people working in your county is an economic gain. So, but anyway, so we have been doing our legwork, even though some people don't think we are. But been trying to talk to other zoning administrators. And here, I'm just gonna share something. I mean, not that it's truly relevant to what's going on.
You sure you
But-
wanna do that then?
Well, it is, but it isn't. It's kind of funny, but not. So there was 5 data mining operations that this company said that they had in the state. So my chairperson, even though it's not within our realm for the zoning commission to set conditional use, that's for the Board of Adjustment. He wanted me to find out from these other counties what their conditional uses were. So one of the counties I reached out to was Osceola. And Osceola County, the zoning administrator is also their county engineer. And I was asking for information about the data mining operation, and he says, we don't have any of those. I'm like, well, for my information, you do have one, and it's gonna be out by such and such. And he's told me, he says, that's not a data mining operation. That is the facility that supports the electrical grid and maximizes optimization.
I see, so it's a title.
Well, everything else was on the application. I do have a copy of the application. But at the same time, this would have been in 2022 when there weren't a lot of these out. And people really didn't know what they were. Same thing, I think is going on in Monroe County. I talked to their zoning administrator and she's like, oh, we don't have any of those. And then when I had her go on the website and look at pictures of them, she's like, oh, yeah, that's over by such and such. So I don't know if it was in the city or county, but she was gonna look into that, but she wasn't aware. But if it wasn't in her county, she wasn't sure exactly where it was. But so I'm the one that told Osceola County that they had a data mining operation. So it was just kind of, but at the same time, they didn't know what they had. And Monroe County also asked me, she says, now, how did you know what they were? And I explained to her about the other company that was, getting information earlier on in the year and explained the process and was very forthcoming about what the operation entailed. So I said, that's why we weren't blindsided due to another company that was looking to come into our county. So anyway, that was part of my update. So you guys ready to move on to your wind ordinance?
Sure.
Okay,
Questions?
not for me, it's your ordinance.
So, on the agenda, it's set the,
Discussion.
do we still have to have before We still have to have another public hearing, is that correct, or what are we doing here?
No.
I'm gonna defer to Don, because I don't,
We
this
can
is-
have as many as we want. I think we're required to have one. We had one. I think there was about 7 people showed up and there was about 6 people, maybe
there was 10 online.
10 online. We answered a few questions. We can pass a reading. And if we want to schedule another public hearing, maybe on the second or third reading, we can.
So if there's any changes made to the current format of it, or the, resolution, or the ordinance, do you have to have a new public hearing, or just note the changes?
I'm gonna defer that to you guys and to the county attorney.
In past history, I would verify with John, but I think minor changes can be allowed without resetting the public hearing. But if it's a major change or addition, then it would have to reset the public.
There's only a couple things I was concerned about that got brought up in the last public hearing. That was the setback, of course, property line. So there was requested of 3280, which is what, 2,000 feet now?
Correct, right.
So it was request of 3280, and I don't have a problem with changing it. The only other thing that was brought up that I would agree with was the 10 miles from the Mississippi. Now, I don't know how that relates to natural resources, yeah, because you gotta go from here and you gotta go back and read something back here that what the natural resources stuff about it. So what is our distance right now from the Mississippi? I mean, that's the 8th wonder of the world or whatever it is, but I mean, we have it.
A minimum of 5 miles.
Minimum of 5.
Minimum of 5. And in some areas, when you get further north, like around St. Donatus, it actually is closer to, excuse me. Yes, you can't be closer than,
So
So
5
when you-
miles because of the way of
Yeah.
the.
it gets closer to 8 when you get up by St. Donatus.
Well, I remember you talked about the 10 miles, but only, I think it's a bit unnecessary because you can't hardly see a mile off the Mississippi in some places, let alone see a 10-mile back.
I don't, my visual is not my point. My migration and natural resources of wildlife and such is my concern.
And I believe the zoning commission, they took a lot of that into consideration. And that's why they wanted to go with the language of shall adhere to the regulations and recommendations of state and federal
So
wildlife.
that includes eagle nest and such like that.
Is there specific regulations regarding those? Yes, it would. Which I'm sure there is. And then eagles nests aren't your only wildlife that they're gonna be
I understand.
writing protections into.
Right. So I don't know if anybody else has any comment on either them 2 items.
I mean, the big thing is, the natural fly zone for your waterfowl and all of that, which I know we kind of have it covered by the scenic byway type of deal, but again, it's not quote, just for the scenic, it's
Right.
Right.
to preserve our.
And
I look at what we've done with the scenic byways, 5-mile setbacks, the waterway setback, is it the waterway you said is a 5-mile setback roughly?
no, sir, that's 1,000 feet. That would be the
No,
sensitive.
you were talking about some Mississippi.
Oh, the river, the scenic byway hits
Yeah.
the river, yes.
So it's because of
So,
the scenic byway.
Then if you take those, add on to our sensitive areas, which is sinkholes, waterways, ponds, creeks, wetlands.
What do you say?
Wells.
No, Wells isn't, a public well, but
But
not Wells.
if you add all of those and they're 1,000 feet setback, it becomes, especially towards the eastern side of Jackson County, it becomes literally implausible to put one in. So just because of this, well, just the sinkholes alone,
Mhm.
would preclude pretty much anything happening in eastern Jackson County because of the stability of the bedrock, access to the aquifers, things like that, or the potentials thereof. So
I mean, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm not trying to put something in there that just puts a stop to everything. I'm trying to consider it doesn't make sense if the workers can't get within 3,280 feet. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense for the public.
I have a Board of Adjustment member who used to work on the turbines. He was a site manager.
I get it. You told us this story already.
Yeah, okay.
You know, that was.
His experience was
Yeah,
different.
I get it. The other thing I questioned, or I had a question on, there's 3 different areas, the sound waiver, the flicker waiver, and the property owner waiver from property lines. If they meet all the setbacks and requirements, you could still have a neighboring property owner waive that, correct?
Correct.
But they'd still have to abide by all the setbacks.
Yes. Unless there was ever a, special exception granted to get them closer to a property line.
I'm not a legal consultant, but my issue is all of a sudden somebody comes in and buys property, and I don't know who's buying, and all of a sudden they own all this property. And then, all of a sudden our jurisdictions and our setbacks don't apply.
Well, it's
But
one
if
of,
somebody gives a waiver.
it's one of those two where you get, they have to be able to hook into the grid. And, they're gonna have to be close to power lines. There's gonna have to be other infrastructure in place. These can't just go up anywhere.
Well, I voiced my concern. That's all.
I'm still in favor of the 10-mile thing, and I know, we've kind of said that we have the scenic byway and the Great River Road and all that. But as we've seen in the last 3 months in society, how things can change at any point, if something would come about and they say, they take that wording out, basically, that you don't have that anymore. I feel like we've got a huge hole where I would rather see the fly zone of the, off the Mississippi and stuff like that versus relying on your scenic byways. I mean, yes, that's what we're wanting to still project and still see, but
It'd be something if those did go away, which from my understanding, well, then again, you're right, the last 6 weeks, it's like, but at the same time, you could add that language in if your other language goes away with edits. And,
because that was kind of my airport concern with the approaches and take off and landing a clear zone, for that was, I've been told all through this whole thing, well, we're protected because of the byway there. Well, if that goes away, then that airport isn't protected. And that makes me very nervous that we're not protecting our airport that is, has been used and that for student pilots, and I just don't want to see it set up for a catastrophe going out there.
the one thing I just reiterate, if you're thinking about the 10 miles, is that an arbitrary number, or is that backed up with studies or anything about the amount of, how wide that flyway
To
is?
me, it's an arbitrary number. Nothing scientific behind it.
Okay.
What do you know about Senate File 376? Anything?
Nothing at this point. I didn't look at base camp today to see if there'd been any changes, but if you guys, if that moves forward, I'd really like to be out in Des Moines.
I get it.
Taking away,
Well, we'll see what happens with funnel week here.
okay, because I'd say we need to be behind that, because I think it's gonna have implications also on the solar.
Well, it's just implications on local control in general.
Period, yeah, you're right.
We talked about that on Saturday with Representative Mumpson and Senator Zimmer. And what it could mean for, because again, Jackson County, topographically speaking, looks completely different than the west side of Iowa. So to apply a uniform standard, doesn't quite work.
Right.
You know, the type of migratory animals, the driftless district we live in, the access, the permeability of our limestone and the sinkholes and things that we do. And they don't have that hardly anywhere else. So
Right.
we should be able to address our unique situations where we live. And they agreed. Last I saw, there was still only one sponsor, and that was the person that introduced it. I checked that this morning. I think it's going to the Commerce Committee
Yeah.
Something today.
Can I say something?
at noon today.
There is a noon meeting today with a subcommittee of 3 members, and we have several residents from the county and Jackson and Clinton going to that.
Excellent, excellent. So, yeah. So if you guys are looking to add this, you know, the one thing that I can say so far with the ordinance we've got, the things that we put in there are backed with not just arbitrary numbers, but sound logic. I mean, scientific research, so to speak. So that would be nice. It helps it stand a little when you add where you're coming up with your numbers, you know, with the 1,000 feet setback from the sinkholes, that came from the University of Iowa recommendation from the geological department. Due to permeabilities and weakening of the bedrock, because, you know, that's where it wasn't just something that a group of people just came up with. And so there's some scientific backing for that.
We also tag team off the CAFO sightings that Iowa DNR uses,
Okay.
because they also have setbacks from those items also. And actually the sinkholes are on the CAFO DNR map. The sinkholes are on that map. So that's another tool we used
Okay.
to back that up.
So it's a pleasure to the board. Are you looking to make the changes, or you want to pass a reading, or what are we doing?
I would honestly, I would like the 2 minimal changes addressed to the county attorney and see if that's minimal enough. We don't have to hold another public hearing. Otherwise, yeah, I'm good either way, but the changes as far as the 3,280 feet and the 10 miles from the Mississippi, I just think it's more important than anything else we have.
And then at what point, the big changes, do they get kicked? Does anything ever get kicked back to the zoning commission?
What do you mean by that?
Just talking to other counties, and some are like, well, if it's big changes, it might have to go back to the commission. And the change from,
I just said, so at the advisement of our county attorney, I know he's filled in already that he said it's not really set in stone anywhere. It's a matter of opinion.
okay,
So if it's a minor change that he says that we can make without rewriting.
So I guess at this point, we're gonna look to change the setback from 2,000 to 3,280, right?
That's the requirement, or that's the number that was given.
And that comes off the recommendation of what comes out of the safety manual of the windmill
Correct.
operators. So that one is back, you know, if there's a thunderstorm, lightning storm, workers within the windmill have to get at least 3,280 feet away from the windmill for safety precautions. That's where that number comes from. The 10 mile, we can look and check into that and see if these constitute a significant change or not, or can we proceed?
okay. And you guys will be reaching out to the county attorney?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And also, the 3,280, if it's in the manual, I don't know which company's manual that is, or if that's something from the United States, or where it's from.
I think that was their operations manual, if I'm not mistaken.
Who's
Next era.
next era's?
Yeah.
If it was from.
Right.
Any other comments, concerns about this? Anything else we want to address? Because,
So are we tabling till we get more information? Is that correct?
well, before we table, I just want to make sure, what I don't want to do is we get these 2 questions answered, then we say, well, what about the wetlands where the trumpeter swans come in and
They
all
were
that
my
kind of stuff?
concerns.
Huh?
They were my concerns.
Well, they're not on the Mississippi. The wetlands are just north of Macomb.
I just said before that them two items were my concerns, that's all I have.
I guess. I still would like to see something for the airport.
What is the industry standard? I think it was Clinton doing 3 miles around the airport.
Their 10-mile buffer that goes through from the river catches the airport is my understanding too. But I don't know what they're actually doing specifically for the airport.
And we'll look at,
I have an email from the airport commission.
Is it recent? I mean, I don't know what the recommendations are, because now with the 10 miles, it might catch the airport if they did from the river.
Right.
But then again, that's just
well, it doesn't
preliminary.
catch our airport.
Right.
No, sir.
That's
Right.
why we need to figure out, if we're taking a 3, 5, whatever. We need to, I would say.
Right, and our zone is different because of our landing zone size, so,
Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna be a smaller
right.
area.
we're gonna check on those 3 issues, the 320, the 3280, 10 mile. And the airport.
Setback.
Okay,
All right.
now,
Just
are we
let me
looking at
know.
the table?
So I would make a motion to table until we get further information.
I'd second that.
A motion by Mike, second by Nan to table, the proposed wind energy ordinance, to get further information and answer questions on those 3 topics. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Anything else?
No, anything else?
Nope, you're
Okay.
good.
All right,
Good
so
day.
you guys got this, so,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
All right. Lisa, do you want to go or do you want to, Andrew's back here? Mr. Long.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Not bad. How you doing, sir?
Good. Okay, so list here. So our numbers are currently down a little bit. We've had a couple people that were on vacation working for us, and then we got hit with all the sickness that is going around, so hadn't actively really been seeking a ton extra from the moment at Scott County. I did email them this morning though and told them we can take some more for them. Currently we're at 20. Half Jackson, half Scott. 8 males for Jackson, 2 females for Jackson. And then 8 males for Scott and 2 females for Scott. Our head count this month was 32. With an average of 27.82 inmates per day. The bill I'm going to be sending to Scott County here shortly for February is $24,035. So running total then for this fiscal year's, this fiscal year is $37,840.
Fiscal sense.
No, I apologize.
Okay.
I math.
Well, I guess it doesn't make any difference.
Calendar year is
We didn't open till then
37,000.
anyway.
Yeah.
Calendar year.
Calendar year is 37,840. And then overall 38,280. We processed in 40 inmates this month, so it's kind of a high month as far as bookings, especially being a shorter month. Correctional officers documented 48,872 checks of inmates with 4,546 specific logs documenting more information on inmates. And they served and prepared 1,818 meals this month. So, a lot of food. Yeah. Excuse me. Otherwise, not a ton going on at the moment. Jeff's been putting in some warranty stuff to.
He's covering this on that.
Is he? Okay, perfect. Yeah. Otherwise, then that's all I really have, is just kind of updating you on the numbers, so.
Things are running more smoothly in there.
They are, yeah, they are. Still just the things, coming up, the warranty issues more than anything.
Has he made any headway with, was it Stronghold getting extra locks and stuff?
Not that I'm aware of, no, so. I haven't heard much back from John at all personally. But yeah, so anyway, we're kind of waiting on that stuff yet.
What about sealing that door in the padded room, I wanna call it?
That is done. Yep,
That
so
is sealed, the bottom of that
Yep,
was sealed?
yep. So
And they
that's put
agreed
back
that that
together.
was never finished, or what was the?
I never heard any more on it, so I
Okay.
guess we'll find out, if it's covered under warranty or not. We're waiting. Haven't heard anything from them. I don't know if you've gotten any bills or anything, so. I would hope it's covered under warranty just based on.
Well, I
the
assume that
think
the
it would be.
first two or three inmates that you have in there that tore apart, that something wasn't right.
Right, and this wasn't one, like I said, that was, you know, a total mental issue that was doing it. Because they were out of control, it was just a 19-year-old doing it.
Something to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, no problem since then with that, no other damage done by prisoners, so that's a good thing.
Good.
No more plumbing issues?
Not that I've been made aware of, you know, so.
Well, it takes a while to work the bugs out, I'm sure, and there's always gonna be a few, and there's always gonna be some repairs and maintenance, so
Mhm. Yeah,
glad to hear it's running smooth. Eh?
yeah, yeah, going well. A little taxing on the staff last month, just between being shorthanded and then, you know, being busier, but for the most part, they're all adapting well and doing their best to make it work, so.
Good.
Yeah, otherwise, I guess that's all I really have for you.
Cool. Thank you very much. We
Yeah,
appreciate
no
it.
problem.
Good report, thanks.
Yep, no problem.
Miss Lisa, you have the floor.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of the February 25th, 2025 board proceeding as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in the official newspaper.
So moved.
Second,
Got a motion by Nan, second by Mike to approve the minutes of the February 25th, 2025 board meeting proceedings as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in the official newspapers. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
I need a motion to accept, place on file, and authorize the chair and auditor signatures on the county recorder's report of fees collected for the month of February 2025 in the amount of $56,504.35.
I would move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Mike, second by Nin to accept, place on file and authorize chair and auditor signatures on the county recorder's report of fees collected for the month of February 2025 in the amount of $56,504.35. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Motion carries,
And my next motion that I will need will be after the public hearing.
which we have about 2 minutes. So, we got discussion on the budget amendment afterwards. So any boards or commissions? Like I said, I did sit in on the legislative forum at the chamber Saturday. There's about 60 participants, including Senator Zimmer and Representative Rumson. Wide variety of topics, very attentive audience. We tried to get as many answers as we can. One of the kind of frustrating things is the fact that if they don't sit on the particular committee, it's like they don't really have an idea of what's even being presented in those other committees, so they couldn't really talk about some of the stuff we were bringing up because they were literally saying they were in the dark to some degree. So that made it a bit of a challenge, but for the most part, very good discussion was had. You know, frustrations were vented. You know, questions were attempted to being answered. So, you know, at least got to say your piece, and many people did. So.
At a municipal league meeting, and again, a lot of conversation was around the 911 communications. Understand that had conversation with city administrator, and we will hopefully move forward this year at some point.
I didn't have a whole lot. I did attend the senior board, their meeting that they had, and really they didn't have a whole lot, and they're working on, like, if they would sublease the building. They had sent a contract of what they wanted, and I mentioned kind of, we didn't want them necessarily coming up here and getting the key for that we'd arrange maybe an extra rental key or something for them, so they're gonna continue working on that, but the era down there seems to be very positive. go.
Good.
So,
We are checking into it, and I had Kelly look into it a little bit too, from JCI, as far as a grant. For government, city-owned buildings like that need some updated. So we talked about the windows with Jeff here a while back. We'll look into it and see what it amounts to.
yeah, and they did bring up some of their grants that they wanted to look at and if they would be feasible or not.
Yes, we can get, it is 10 o'clock now, so we'll go ahead and first thing we'll do now is open the public hearing for the FY 2025 budget amendment. Lisa?
So, this is something that we kind of annually have to do to make these adjustments, these corrections to our budget. That's why I handed out a list of all of these changes that we're trying to do. Nothing really significant. I guess the main thing that we've got to pay for our air conditioning. So that did need to be a budget amendment. So we have the authority to pay for that when it happens. Just as a side note, I did talk to Jeff yesterday about that. He says that we are on track and possibly could get done a little bit earlier than anticipated, which would be good. So a lot of this has to do with the jail, trying to get to the end point of the jail and moving things correctly within the budgets to get them paid and to get it budgeted correctly. I have received no comments for or against these amendments. Have you? I guess that's.
I have not, and I had some questions that Shelley diligently answered for me, so
Okay.
I am completely satisfied with her answers.
Any other comments during the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing. Whoops. Is there somebody on that would like to comment?
Ally, do you want to talk about the public hearing for the budget amendment? I think that is enough.
I would still shape my motion to close the public hearing.
Second that.
Got a motion by Mike, second by Nan to close public hearing for FY 2025 budget amendment. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
With that, I need a motion to approve resolution 1099-03-04-2025 for the amendment to the county budget for fiscal year 24-25 and authorize the chair and auditor signatures on the record of hearing and certify to the state of Iowa.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Nan, second by Mike to approve resolution 1099-03-04-2025 for the amendment to the county budget for fiscal year 24-25. Authorize chair and auditor's signature on the record of hearing and certified to the state of Iowa. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's all that I have for the board today.
All right. Next up, we have Jack and Lene.
Good morning.
Morning.
We're dry, but it sounds like we're gonna get some.
Yeah, it does.
Rain's coming.
That's all.
We
Right.
need it.
Better come.
They'll pull the frost right out of the ground.
Yeah.
Then we'll get to hear how well our gravel roads are going.
They'll be able
Almost anyway, yeah.
So, yeah, we're
What good
here.
news do you have for?
Huh?
What good news do you have for?
Well, we do have some good news, with David Farmer's report for our governing board meeting, that we had last week on the 24th. He did say that we're realizing some of the cuts that we've made, and it does look like we will end on a positive budget.
Oh.
So as of right now, so that is a plus, and we'll keep monitoring that each month and making sure that that's the trend that we're seeing, and that's the way it's gonna go. As far as the ASO, we haven't heard any new news on that, except that they did schedule a meeting. So we will get to meet with them on March 19th. So we'll meet with them and hopefully get some answers as far as.
Who all is we?
So it's gonna be the governing board, management team. And then I think that there'll be some other folks that'll be invited as far as through Zoom, it
Right.
sounds like, if they wish to attend.
so that we can meet them and so that we can have a an exchange with them to see exactly what all is gonna be. How we're going to be affected.
Well, we certainly like to have a plan in front of us that we could
Yeah.
work on.
We'd
So
like
we
to know the
directions
destination.
we need to go.
Yeah, we need to know the destination so we can figure out how to bridge the gap between where we are and where they're gonna end up, they want us to end up.
Right.
Right now, it sounds like it's just go this way and we'll find out where we're going someday.
Preferably it's before budget certification, but I guess that ain't gonna happen. We went through that before.
There's just so much going on. It's just incredible.
Well, I would think there'd have to be some type of vision. They can't just, there has to be, there's enough good people around to have a decent conversation and say we need to do something here.
Right, and so we'll meet with them on the 19th, like I said, but the management team, we're already working on a transition plan, but it won't be finalized until we have that meeting with the ASO to kind of see what exactly needs to happen and where we need to go with things. So we are kind of at the mercy of just waiting to hear what their plans are.
And with the ASO, I guess I look at like positions like yours and Lori's and all those are all just gone, or is there any plans to work some of those into the new ASO and organization, or do they just?
Hopefully those are some things that we can discuss with them. And see where they're at with it and share our concern.
Sure.
Otherwise, as far as the Robert Young Center, they are done as of February 28th. So we did go ahead and the contracts that they held, we went ahead and made contracts with those agencies so that they will continue to provide the services that they were providing, so that there won't be any gaps from now March 1st until July 1.
There'll be direct contracts with the governing board instead of with Robert Young Center.
Good.
And then otherwise, as far as what's happened in January, the co-responders, they assisted 56 individuals here in Jackson County. Mobile Crisis assisted 13 individuals, and Care Coordination assisted 30 individuals in January. So even though we've got all this stuff going on, we're still providing the service and making sure that care is happening for our folks.
Yeah, and they're extremely important services and we don't want to see those stop. So we'll be.
Pass that along.
Yeah.
We will do our part. We'll be out there next week.
Yeah.
We have a legislative social Wednesday night where we can bump elbows and, spread the word as much as we can. So we will make sure we do our part, but
That's what we all need to do is let them know what our concerns are.
we'll do that.
I had a HHS meeting last Friday and I certainly let them know my concerns. Marissa, the one that kind of oversaw all of these changes, she came in doing a song and dance about how great everything was. And I said to her, I said, where do you live? I said, we're having lots of concerns and I meet, I see people from the other regions too, and all of them are concerned about what the future's gonna be. And everything was sunshine and lollipops. And I don't know where she's living.
Well, some
Yeah,
people
we
choose
might have
what
to
to
do some
see what they
writing.
want to see.
Right.
We can do some ride-alongs maybe.
I'd be all for that. So, but Ken said that the governing board will stay active until July or maybe August.
And then there is gonna be, in December, they have to send in the budget. So there'll probably be one quick meeting in December just to approve the final budget and get that submitted.
So our work isn't quite done.
No, well, stay at it.
Appreciate it.
Oh, for some welcome.
Goes better than what people are anticipating.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Right.
We're gonna do everything we can to make
Right.
it so it is better than they anticipate.
All right.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Right.
Keep
I
doing
just
what you
wanna
can do.
I wanna tell you, board members, that I really have appreciated being your representative and being involved with this. It's really close to my heart, and I think it's important that we have our input.
No, I mean, we've said it several times this morning. We appreciate the volunteers that we have, that people are willing to step up and, you know, I would hate to be involved in that conversation, you know, so,
Because you've literally almost been part of this commit, this
a lifetime.
since the beginning,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah, in fact, when all of this took place, I was the chairman of the mental health
Mhm.
board in Des Moines. So, and I was, as Lisa knows, I was very upset that we were taking county services away and making it region. But after being involved with the region, I thought, you were maybe wrong, because some of the services we could never have afforded to provide.
Mhm.
But through a region, we can provide those services, and so it was a real plus for us, but I don't know.
Again, that's what I keep hoping
Well,
is
I'll
that,
give you another
that there's
chance.
another good,
Yeah.
good thing that comes out of this,
Good
that it
outcome, yeah.
doesn't just turn into a black hole.
We gotta be cautiously optimistic, but optics, when they talk about, okay, they're gonna hire, the new SAO is gonna hire so many people, and a good majority of them will be in a kind of a certain geographical area, it kind of seems like it's kind of pulling services back towards larger metropolitan areas. And us out here in the sticks, as you heard, we talked to Senator, Mumpson and Zimmer on Saturday. It's like, our property taxes were down about $180,000 because they are penalizing big metropolitan areas that have rapid growth and all that stuff, and maybe people that overtax their counties, of which we're neither. And we're out significant dollars just because of their solutions for these problems are affecting us, and we literally have no say whatsoever. And there's not much we can do about it.
And you heard me tell him that I really have been upset that the legislators are not more involved with what's happening with this. They just, the Department of Health and Human Services basically had control, and they could pretty much do what they wanted. And I'm not sure that everything they're doing is in the best interest of the people that need the services.
We'll move forward.
Absolutely.
Try to anyway. Appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you guys.
Thank you.
I'd also ask if one of you might be available next Wednesday to do a short program at Rotary about the levy and some of the other information. We meet every Wednesday at the Eagles Club, and I have the program next week. So I just thought I would see if one of you would want to come in.
What time is it?
It's at noon. It's a luncheon at noon.
I have an early meeting for District 6 at Des Moines, but what time I'll be.
I know I'm gonna leave the afternoon if you want. I can, what do you want to talk about specifically again? I mean, just everything.
Budget process?
Budget process, and kind of like you talked the other night about.
Go ahead. I'll probably have PT before I go to the morning.
Okay, I can do it.
Okay,
If you don't want,
noon at the Eagles.
next Wednesday. I gotta put that on my calendar.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We
much.
appreciate everything you guys are doing.
And we got your email yesterday, Renee, so.
Yes.
And I'll tell you.
We're working on it.
I'll tell you that, we were all, I think myself included, was a little concerned when Lynn retired, but Lynne has done a wonderful job.
We sure appreciate it too, yeah.
She really has. It's just been.
What'd that cost you?
What's that?
That
Oh,
winter?
well, you know,
No, it's been noted, and we're trying to make sure we're doing our part to bridge the gap in services and make sure we maintain some level of consistency through what I'm gonna call uncharted waters and unforeseen.
Absolutely.
We're doing our best.
Absolutely. And we appreciate your
Yeah,
effort.
you bet.
We will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
See you.
Can I reach out to
All right, any other boards or commissions? Down on unfinished business, where we at with the fairgrounds lease? It kind of went to them. And we never really got an official report back from them saying these are things we liked or didn't like about the lease to know. I guess it's just kind of out there.
So they're
That's encouraging.
they were okay overall pretty much with the lease. The one thing they were worried about was if kind of where we were talking about before they could build anything, it had to come back to us as supervisors. They wanted to make sure that if any of the other agencies that have items there, also that if they would get an input because they didn't want, if they had future plans, thinking in the head, thinking out or whatever, that it would disrupt where, say like 4-H camping is at, or where the actual fairgrounds, where the carnival sets up and things like that. So they would like some input, obviously, if other people were going to build other things on the ground.
And I think it should be cooperation with Fair Board and to us. Obviously, I think it should, and line come back to us. It's our dirt, if you wanna call it, or the county's dirt, so.
But they
if we're
utilize it,
representing
so
the County.
I think so if like historical society wants to expand a building or
Right,
something,
or
it has to be,
put up a new shed or
it has to be signed off by the fair board.
It's no
before it
different
can-
than the zoning board. It goes to the zoning board, then it comes to us,
Right.
recommendation.
so they just kind of maybe wanted something in there in the wording in that part, that, because that was kind of an added line, I think, at the end of our lease that we added in there was. And then, the only other thing that they talked about was something about if for some reason, obviously, and if a natural disaster came through there, we've got in there kind of what we're saying is, this is it. This is how it is, straightforward. But if a disaster came through and took out pretty much most of the buildings, obviously, they weren't gonna be able to have the funding.
Extraordinary actions require
Right.
I
extraordinary
think we
solutions.
discussed that. If that happens, we got a lot of bigger problems
Yeah.
too.
Right,
So-
right.
We're looking
But-
for federal assistance and whatever's coming about, so.
So that was their
Obviously.
only other concern is that,
I I think that's kind of an implied thing, but, we can't, say,
can't plan for everything.
right.
I mean,
so-
and that's kind of what.
I would
tried
look to
s-
see if we could figure out, I don't know if you wanna talk to, the county attorney to figure out how the verbiage would
how
be.
to word that.
Any expansion needs to have, other than, if it doesn't come from the I'd almost wonder. That's why I think like Historical Society. Does their lease have to be with us or the Fair Board or, because if they sublet from the Fair Board.
I think it should go to the Fair Board first, or.
That's what I'm saying.
And I
So
think the
I'm
Fair
wondering
Board
if
brings
this-
us a,
The Historical Society, I almost wonder, should they have a lease for their space or whatever from the Fair Board? As far as management and footprint, and then the Fair Board brings it to us,
I would think so, but.
because that's another thing on here, we got a Historical Society lease. At least, we have set terms up for the Fair Board to use the grounds and buildings. There's these other ones on there. Can we, at least management or have the agreement between the Fair Board and us instead of, I don't know.
Are you gonna have that conversation with John?
Yeah.
Include that in your conversation,
Yeah.
write that on your notes to bring that up. Sublease.
Because the other one is the senior center board lease. We talked about, well, that popped up or where we at or what are we waiting on? Or
There isn't, well, are you talking about
just with the
senior board?
the management of the senior center. What
We haven't done anything, have we?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
do we need to do to get it?
Do we need to do anything?
I would ask John.
Like Nan said, if things are rolling smooth, and unless, I guess we assumed our liabilities and insurance on it, so that, I would say that's our concern, unless there's feathers ruffled somewhere that we need.
Well.
Well, when we set up
do you
terms,
need-
if
Do
the-
you need something if they're talking, they wanna come in and do an overhaul, whose dime is it?
So there's a board there. Again, I would think it'd have to come, it should come from their board to say, you know, if they're charging for something, where's the revenue go and what do they do with it?
We have a management agreement between us and the Together We Build Advisory Board to manage the affairs of the Together We Build. To me, I envision for our protection, we should have some kind of management agreement where we say the senior center board can do X, Y, and Z as kind of set up terms for which, just like the Together We Build Advisory Board. There, we have that there. I mean, why do we do a lease with them? If it's not really needed. To me, it's the same thing. We are giving them the management of that building. You know, I've talked to one of the people, they're talking about replacing all the ceiling tiles down there and all that kind of stuff. And they're pursuing grants and all this kind of stuff under what authority? And who pays for that? Because you're not talking about something that's just, you know, $500.
Right.
You know, you're talking large dollar items. Under what authority do they have to do that? You know, so I think there at least needs to be a similar management style agreement between us and the senior center board that lays out the terms. Okay, what utilities do we pay? What utilities do they pay? What things can you do in the building versus needing board approval? You know, because to me, if they want to paint a wall, go for it. If they want to replace the ceiling tiles and all that stuff, well, you know, that's something we need to talk about a little bit more. So that's where I think we need something with the senior center board.
I agree. I'd say it's a good conversation with the county attorney again.
Good. Anything else?
For the board?
Yep.
No, I just want to wish our neighboring DeWitt Sabres, good luck today. Their girls basketball team playing at 1:30. And Macocota Cardinals playing at 5.
5 or 5:30.
Wish them both the best of luck.
Yeah.
And they are live streamed, so we have, many participants on the DeWitt squad that's local here, I know, and Macocota, wish them best of all.
Good.
Next week, we'll say the same thing about the Marquette team that plays on Wednesday.
Cool.
So we have good representation from Eastern Iowa.
That's good.
Yeah. All right.
To adjourn.
Second?
Got a motion by Nan, second by Mike to adjourn. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everybody have a good day. Be safe.